Abia State Governor-elect Dr. Alex Otti has urged Abians not to panic over his sack by Federal High Court in Kano, saying there is no cause for alarm over the kangaroo judgment. Mr. Otti said arrangements for his swearing in on May 29 were on full gear as planned, declaring that the antics of the enemies of democracy cannot truncate the will of Abians. But how factual is this statement? Welcome to Standpoint. I am Ademola Lawrence. For Mr. Otti, the Kano judgment does not hold water and stands on nothing. Even his party, Labour Party, says the judgment has no basis and nobody should bother about it. But if they had a case, why didn't they file it? That is what the governor is also saying. He also explained that similar cases had already been filed against two Labour Party House of Representatives in Abia, but were all dismissed even by the Supreme Court. But despite all this, what is the fate of Mr. Alex Otti as the inauguration is just a few days away? Joining me to talk about this is the Special Advisor, Media and Publicity to the Governor-elect, Mr. Alex Otti, Ferdinand Ekeoma, and he joins me on Zoom. Mr. Ferdinand, it's good to have you this afternoon.
Thank you, Ademola, for having me on the show.
Okay, first of all, let's first start. Take us through what happened, first of all, on the 19th of May 2003, when that judgment was actually passed in Kano, of course, filed by Mr. Aruna, and what what happened at that particular place in Kano, where your principal officer was also party to that particular judgment.
Okay, thank you once again. What happened on the 19th of May, just like every other Nigerian or every other Abian, was a shock. It was a shock to us. Shock because we were not aware of the suit in the first place. We weren't aware at all. And if you read the judgment, you would see where the judge clearly stated that we were not parties to the suit. You would see where he declined to give any consequential order against Dr. Alex Otti and Labour Party Abia State. He clearly stated it, that his courts did not have jurisdiction. Now, the question is, even as a layman, I know that issue of jurisdiction is very fundamental in the adjudication of any matter. So the question is, if the court did not have jurisdiction to have entertained the matter where it concerned Labour Party and Dr. Alex Otti, why then were we brought into it? Why then did the court go ahead to entertain the suit where it concerned us? Why then did the court go ahead to say anything that could directly or indirectly affect us? That's the question. Because here I am not assuming, I am not quoting myself, I'm not quoting our party. I am quoting what the judge said in the last paragraph of that judgment, that it will not go ahead to give any order with respect to certificate of return and the rest of them because we were not parties to the suit. So Ademola, in my opinion, it was an ambush. We were taken unawares, but then we are not bothered. We are not bothered because, like you rightly pointed out, we have made reference to judgments that have been delivered, issues that have been decided that are very much the same with what was brought before the Kano Federal High Court. In the case of the PDP candidate, Chief Abia Bazwere, the candidate for Isialangwa North and South Federal Constituency of Abia State, against our candidate, Honorable Jinja Onwusibe, the PDP candidate lost at the Federal High Court, lost at the Court of Appeal, and of course, lost at the Supreme Court. And all the issues they raised at the Federal High Court in Kano were the same issues that were raised at the Federal High Court. And that gives us reasons to now believe that the decision to go to Kano was intentional. Because we know the place and importance of precedent in law. Because a precedent had been set, a judgment had been given, which a lawyer could easily cite as an authority. These people feared that if they filed a suit in Abia, at the Federal High Court in Abia, and our lawyers were joined, and our lawyers would definitely make submissions that would definitely lead to the dismissal of their suit. So that was why they now secretly went to Kano and filed a suit on the 11th. And within 7 days, judgment was obtained. It is not in our character to insult our courts or bring our judges to disrepute. But we believe that it is embarrassing that the courts took that direction. We are 100% aware that what brought us into the matter, that the man that brought us to in Kano,
Mr. Ferdinand,
doesn't have anything to do for.
Mr. Ferdinand, if you can hear me, there's just a breaking news.
I can hear you.
Yeah, there's just a breaking news,
Okay.
and it says that the Court of Appeal in Kano Division has stayed and suspended the order granted by the Federal High Court in Kano, which nullified the election of the Labour Party in the 36 states
Yes.
due to the submission of the list
Yes.
of candidates of an INEC. I know that you're very happy with that.
No, I am very much aware of the suit, of the judgment, of the decision by Court of Appeal, and of course I was coming to that. That was by Justice Ita Baba. He suspended the judgment, granted our stay of execution, and they now allowed Dr. Alex Otti to file as an interested party, to appeal as an interested party in the matter. So in fact, I've put up a release to that effect, which I am yet to officially circulate. I am very much aware of the judgment. And of course, we're expecting that, like I was explaining, these people do not have any case against us, my brother. They do not, and they know this very well. They have no case against us. There have been judgments. In the case of Alliance people, whatever, I've forgotten the name of that political party, against Mr. P2B. Appeal Court stated it emphatically. First, that those people did not have locus to have brought a suit. That was number one. Two, it was a pre-election matter. Three, that non-submission of register, that's assuming, that was what the appeal court said, that is assuming that the registers were not submitted, it cannot form the grounds for the nullification of P2B's candidature. The court said so because the court now made reference to the Constitution of Nigeria, the 1999 Constitution as amended, where it was provided, the basis for qualification or otherwise was clearly spelled out and dismissed the suit brought against. I'm talking about what Court of Appeal did. And I just did explain to you what transpired between us and the PDP in Abia State, and this was adjudicated up to the Supreme Court, and their suit was dismissed. So they know all these things. They have no case against us. And don't forget that they are at the tribunal. We defeated them. We tried them at the post. We humiliated them. They know that very well. But then they still went ahead to file a suit at the tribunal. But because they know they have no case against us, because they know that their suit is worthless, that is why they are now looking for a way to go through the back door and dislodge Dr. Alex Otti and steal the people's mandate. But it can't work. Because this was the most celebrated governorship victory across the federation. They know it. They have no case. So we're not bothered. We're not perturbed. They have no case, and they know this.
Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so there's a lot to talk about. While you're also rejoicing that the Court of Appeal in Kano has actually stayed and suspended that particular judgment that was given by the Federal High Court in Kano. There were times in reacting to the judgment, Mr. Alex Otti said there were people that were paid to want to truncate his swearing in. Can you make a statement on that?
Yes, that's the statement of fact. And they all come from Abia. They are agents of PDP in Abia State. They are found in different places. As we speak, they have been running up and down. Even as at yesterday, 2 days ago, they've been moving from one court to another, begging judges to grant them another frivolous order to stop Alex Otti's inauguration. And we can tell you authoritatively that they've reached out to a lot of people. Unfortunately for them, most of these judges know that they have no case. Most of these judges know that they are trying to set boo-boo traps for them. Most of these judges are honorable men and women and know that it is dangerous to be part into anything that will lead to truncating our democracy, especially in Abia State. So they are still plotting to come to power through the back door. My brother, PDP has been in power in Abia State since 1999. They've plundered our state. They've misgoverned our state. They've oppressed and suppressed and exploited our people. And since they were defeated by Dr. Alex Otti, they are here to recover from the trauma. They are psychologically damaged, and they'll be running helter-skelter, doing all kinds of things to see if they could do any magic and return to power. Unfortunately, they do not know that they are gone and gone forever in Abia because they committed leadership atrocities against our people, and our people do not want to hear anything PDP in Abia State. So a lot of people have been paid. A lot of people are involved in this plot. But by the special grace of God, the God has seen the tears of Abia State pensioners that have been owed to something most pension arrears. Majority of the workers that have been owed over 30 months salary arrears have been praying. They all celebrated. And they will never, their God will never allow PDP near our government house again. So what Dr. Alex Otti stated was the fact, and is the fact. But then we are not perturbed because they have no case against us. Nigeria is not a banana republic. And so when they do some of these things and think that because they've had unfettered access to our public treasury for years, and they now assume they can do anything. And that was one of the reasons they misled our people, they misgoverned our state, and they came with so much arrogance during the election that with the money they had, they were going to have their way. Unfortunately, they were shocked, and our people humiliated them at the polls, leading to the emergence of Dr. Alex Otti. So a lot of things are happening, but we are unperturbed and unfazed.
Okay, I also want us to look at one thing that one of the critical points that was actually pointed out at that particular judgment, which is, of course, if my producer can help me bring up that particular slide, and it says the substance of this judgment, okay, says a person entitled to, okay, this is, first of all, does this person even have the right to even go to court first in the first place? They say this is the Electoral Act, Section 133. The person is entitled to present election petitions. An election petition may be presented by one or more of the following: A candidate in an election, or B, a political party which participated in the election, or 2, a person whose election is complained of is this act referred to as a respondent. So Mr. Aruno, of course, was not party to this particular case. So how come, the court was even able to hear the case in the first place?
Thank you. Thank you. You've come back to my position because just a few days ago, was it 2 days ago, that the Supreme Court dismissed the suit brought by PDP against the president-elect. And I believe that dismissal was anchored on what you just read out now, anchored on the law. The individual, and that was why I also did make reference to the appeal court judgment given in favor of P2B, our presidential candidate, Mr. P2B, against that party. First, the issue of locus, and that was what brought about it. You were not a member of the party. You didn't take part in the primaries. You are not a political party. You understand? You are not our political party. So, on what grounds did those individuals bring up that suit against Mr. P2B? So, it's the same thing. So, just like you asked, that is the question. We are asking how, especially where it concerns Alex Otti. I don't ask him how. It's still the same question. They have no case. They have no case at all. And what they just did was to create unnecessary panic in the minds of millions of Abians who have been praying for a day like this. But we are grateful to God, and we are grateful to Nigerians for their support, for their massive support. We are grateful to the justices, those who are willing and ready and determined to dispense justice without fear or favor.
Okay, I also agree to some of the things that you said. Of course, going by the Electoral Act, that it doesn't even have a case in this. But there's a critical point, of course, the substance of why he went to court. If my producer can help me put it up, that is, of course, talking about the Electoral Act 77. Of course, now see, political parties to be bodies of corporate. And he said a political party registered under this act shall be a body corporate with perpetual succession and common seal and may be sued in corporate. Now he said every registered political party shall maintain register of its members. And one of the things that was said about this judgment was the fact that in the space of that 30 days, Mr. Alex Otti was supposed to have submitted his name to, of course, INEC, but it was not met, which, of course, was a substance of this particular case that was brought to the Federal High Court. How do you react to that?
Okay, why that issue you just mentioned now is a subject of litigation, so there are things I can't say there which could be sub judice, while they can't even prove what they are claiming. Let me also say it, that the appeal court has settled this issue. The Supreme Court has settled this issue. In the two cases I made reference to, in that of appeal court, the court clearly stated it, that what is contained in the Electoral Act with respect to submission of register cannot form basis for the dismissal of anybody as a candidate or for the removal of any elected official or nullification of anybody's candidacy. And because there's, the 1999 Constitution has already dealt with that. Once you are a member of a political party and your political party has submitted your name, Labour Party has not told anybody that Alex Otti is not a member. They has not told anybody that Alex Otti was not his candidate, which is what the Constitution has dealt with. Labour Party recognized Alex Otti as a member. Alex Otti took part in the primaries. His name was submitted to INEC as his candidate. That was why the appeal court said, since all these things have been met, since all these requirements have been met, nobody can dwell on what was stated in the Electoral Act with respect to submission of register or otherwise. So nullify anybody's election or candidacy. So that has settled it. That has settled it. We are dealing with now. And we have a constitution, which is the ground norm, which supersedes whatever argument anybody might want to adduce at any point in time. The constitution has settled every argument, and that is supreme.
Okay. While of course we'll look at now that the Court of Appeal has stayed and suspended that particular judgment in Kano State. It's just a few days to the inaugural the swearing-in of Dr. Alex Otti. What are the things that the people of Abia State should be looking at? It's a cause for concern because many have said maybe it's a new dawn for Abia State, but how promising is that new dawn for Abians who are looking forward to the new government that is supposed to come in?
Thank you, my brother. The new dawn is realistic. It is not a facade. It is a fact. Fact because Dr. Alex Otti has antecedents. Because Alex Otti has a record of excellence, record of excellent accomplishments, verifiable antecedents of accomplishments, reputation, character, capacity. People are Abians are in tune with these facts. Nigerians are very much aware of his capacity. Therefore, there is something people, an adage, so you don't learn how to use your left hand at old age. So a man who has been associated with successes, who has been associated with capacity, with accomplishments, cannot suddenly become a failure overnight. And between 2014 and today, since Dr. Alex Otti get involved in Abia, he has proven beyond every reasonable doubt that he is sincere and genuine and committed and passionate about writing the checkered history of Abia State. And going through his manifesto, you could see that he has clear knowledge of what he wants to do. So, Abians are convinced, and with the passion he has exhibited, the passion with which he's coming on board. And for the first time, this has to be stated, for the first time, this is the first time Abians would vote for a governor, and that governor will be declared. This is the first time the people can unanimously come and tell you that the man that is presiding over the affairs was actually voted by them. Not joking, you can make inquiries. So it's unprecedented. And of course, Dr. Alex Otti has a name to protect. So we are convinced that he's going to do well. Others are convinced that he's going to do well. He is prepared to hit the ground running. And in the next few days, people will begin to see the results of what he will do. So we are convinced that he has the capacity to do it in the area of education. He has analyzed what he's going to do, that he's going to invest massively in infrastructure in our institutions. He's going to invest in training and retraining of what he's going to do. Then you look at in the area of infrastructure. He has talked about what he's going to do in Abia. He has talked about what he's going to do in Abia. In fact, during the campaign, he did say that he will create the ministry of Abia. But then, a few days ago, the transition council that he set up, to come up with a policy direction, for his administration, made a recommendation, which, stated that they are in agreement with his plans for Abia, but then that it should be a ministry. It could be an agency to avoid all the, bureaucratic bottlenecks associated with the civil service. You look at the area of infrastructure. He has already started the process of bringing reputable construction companies in Abia that will do a lot to ensure that infrastructure is massively upgraded. Now, there is something about Dr. Alex Otti's government, the government we are going to witness in Abia. One is that he understands the economy. As a first-class economist, he understands how the economy works. So he has made it clear that he is going to clear the salary and pension arrears being owed Abia workers and pensioners in record time. His argument is that the economy works with money. That a level.
Mr. Ferdinand, are you still there? Okay.
For them and for their families. So the man understands what he wants to do. In the area of health, he has talked about building a medical village. And the two targets, one, to generate revenue. Two, to take care of the medical needs of not Abians, but millions of Nigerians.
All right, Mr. Ferdinand. Mr. Ferdinand, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
All right. Thank you very much. I know that if I give you all the time, you will talk. One of the things that Abians are looking forward to is the promises that were made at the campaign. Of course, by the time he's been inaugurated, will be kept while he stays in office. Thank you very much for joining us. And that is the media aide to the governor-elect of Abia State,
Thank you.
Mr. Ferdinand.
Thank you very much, Ademola. Thank you.
The humongous amount of money expended on roads construction and rehabilitation by President Muhammadu Buhari between 2016 and 2020 is, of course, a very huge amount. A total of 8,352 kilometers of roads were constructed or rehabilitated. To achieve this, according to presidency, a total number of 339,955 jobs directly were affected to this project. But does this really have an effect on the generality of the nation as the president winds down his administration? Joining me to talk about this is Mohammed Baba, Professor of Sociology and Management Science, Federal University of Benin Kebbi. Good afternoon to you, sir.
A very good afternoon to you and a very good afternoon to viewers.
Okay, first of all, President Muhammad Buhari, of course, is winding down his administration. By May 29, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of course, will be sworn in as the president. One of the critical structure that we want to look at is, of course, the infrastructure of President Muhammadu Buhari, looking at the things and the humongous money that was spent into that aspect of the economy. How would you rate his infrastructural progress and looking at his scorecard as he wind down his administration?
Well, actually, let me say that in assessing the infrastructural component of this administration has to be done within the context of the administration's total approach to the Nigerian scenario, including health, education, and everything. But of course, we are focusing only on infrastructure. Let me say, yeah, there has been a lot of propaganda about infrastructure that has been constructed. You have talked about hundreds of thousands of roads that have either been constructed or rehabilitated. Looking at that and the amount spent on such construction, you need to view it against those that have not been done, or those that have not received attention, or those that are crying for attention. Of course, there have been success here and there. The most prominent, of course, is the second Niger Bridge, completed by the administration. Of course, a lot has been done in the Lagos and Ibadan zone. The National Assembly had called out the Minister of Works to remind him that allocating 30% of infrastructure or road infrastructural development to Lagos alone does not reflect the needs of the Federation. Of course, there have been so many plans. We know about plans to extend the railway, say, from Gusau to Sokoto and Birnin Kebbi. We have talked about the railway extending from Kaduna to Kano. We are yet to see any of this. We understand, but we're yet to see the completion of the railway line from Kano to Maradi, even with the controversies surrounding this. I have been on a number of key roads in the Federation, and I know they're crying, they're still crying for attention. The road leading from Sokoto to Gusau, for example, from Gusau to Funtua, still needs attention. From Funtua to Zaria, I know the road has been reconstructed up to Giwa, or just before Samaru. They are not completed. Not to talk of the notorious Abuja, Lokoja, Abuja, Kaduna, and then of course on to Kano. The Abuja Kaduna road has been comatose, so to speak, for the 8 years that this administration has been in power. It's as if you drive on that road, it's as if we don't have a government in the country that pays attention to that. I don't know the logistics of taking 8 years to construct a 200-kilometer road from Abuja to Kaduna. But, these are some of the things that people speak of and people will use to assess this administration. It's okay to do a glossy picture, a glossy documentary with everything that should have been done or that have been done. The point is exactly against what goals, against what promises, what have been done and what have not been done. Yeah, we have among the infrastructure and the construction of offices for federal agencies, such as the customs recently, and a number of agencies. But the question one will ask is, how does constructing a big edifice with all the modern appliances, all the modern facilities, what are the impact on service? What do you think the construction of the custom headquarters will do to our ability to have an effective custom control policy on ground? The majority of those officers who help us with import and export control are there at the borders, living in conditions that are less than ideal. So if you ask me overall, what has the government achieved in terms of infrastructure? I will say some, but I am personally not impressed. And I think there are a number of Nigerians who obviously would say they expected and are entitled to expect more. In this region, I know, for example, that Jega Yawuri Road has been finished, and this is very good. Driving on the road, it's such a pleasure. But like I said, if you take other parts of the country, see, for example, the notorious Numan Jalingo Road, or in fact, the Ngurore linking to Jalingo. It's a nightmare. You go from Jalingo, take the road to Wukari and on to others, to the southeastern parts. Oh, we needs more attention. But of course, if you look at also Kwanga to Lafia, a lot has been done. Lafia to Makadi, a lot has been done, accepted, or rather they are finished because some of the roads were actually started. But some of the projects were started by previous administrations. And it's very good that they will be finished. So overall, you know, I would say something has been done. I will give some percentage as a teacher, but that will be hovering around 40, 45% at best. You know, if I would push myself about 50, if I would add some of the other roads that some parts of the country have enjoyed.
Okay, Prof.
Other infrastructure, railway, and so on, there's a big question mark.
All right, Prof. I think you're being generous. You're being generous with the 40, 45%. Some Nigerians will tell you.
Thank you. I thought I was pushing myself to help this student. At least, what do they say, students? Let my people go. You know, I'm seeing the end of this. I'm looking forward to the end of this administration. Actually, like I said to someone, against the promises made by the administration,
Okay.
you know, the performance has been disappointing, to say the least.
Yes. Okay. Oh, yes. Because some Nigerians have said, yes, we're seeing all the construction, the infrastructure going around the country, but how does this really have an effect on the lives of every Nigerian? Because that's the major point. What is the essence of you constructing?
What is the infrastructure of security that will allow the use of these facilities? That's very important.
Yeah. So my question to you, Prof, is the President Muhammadu Buhari is winding down his administration. As a matter of fact, in just 1 or 2 days, will be out of office. Looking at all the things that he has done in terms of infrastructure, now that this administration is coming in of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they say government is a continuum. How do you think that they need to scale up the infrastructure deficit that we have in this country? Because there's still a lot of infrastructural deficit that we still have.
Yes. Yeah. My expectation and my hope is that contrary to what the incoming president had stated during the campaign, that he will continue from where the president, I would say, wait, look, stop for a minute. Such promises, we knew such promises were done for the campaigns. What I would expect the administration to start doing is to do an evaluation. And I honestly do not envy anybody taking over this country from Buhari. When you look at some of the daunting problems, when you look at avoidable pitfalls, when you look at things that were promised but not delivered, when you look at some of the pains inflicted on the citizens, what I expect this administration to do is to take a stop. Exactly where we were. What can we afford? What should we put aside? What are key infrastructures that will trigger change in the economy, that will bring succor to people suffering, like those who are into the private sector, transporting? What other areas have we neglected? Obviously, there is no doubt about it, that since about the first military administration that took over after the civilian, post-independent civilian, we should have invested more in railway lines as a mass transit facility. If you look at from Lagos to Yola via Jalingo, going to Biu and Maiduguri, we should have had a railway linking those. Or you take over from the Mambila plant,
Prof,
going down
Prof,
to Abuja.
Prof, sorry to cut you,
yes,
but some persons will say that President Muhammadu Buhari has actually tried in the area of, doing this rail. As at 2014, 2013, 2015, 2016, there was no rail, a functional rail line in Nigeria. But now we can boast of some rail lines in Nigeria. So some persons will say, yes, let's give him kudos for that.
Yeah, like I said, we deserve more. But you see, you have to look at with the result. We talk about some lines going on, but at what speed? Look at the Abuja-Kaduna rail line. Beautiful line that has been allowed to now run. It's almost dead. There is only one train going from Abuja to Kaduna. But the point is, what other supporting infrastructure did we put on ground to support this? How many? Still, I see a lot of cement. I see a lot of fuel and others being taken, being on the roads with heavy vehicles impacting on the quality of these roads. Yes, we can give him some kudos. But what I'm saying is, given the height, given the amount of money expended, don't we think we deserve more? And I personally think the country deserves more than what we have seen. Yeah, it's okay to give him kudos and so on, but we should not exaggerate as the regime is given to doing, that this has impacted on the lives of citizens. Let's talk about what we see on ground. The number of heavy-duty vehicles plying some of the roads, the goods, the amount of goods being hauled by the road. I once, about a year ago, I traveled from Oyo to Kaduna, and we started at 5 o'clock. I was just on my own counting the number of heavy-duty vehicles we encountered on the road. And it's tremendous. And I asked myself, these things were available. If we had a rail line that will take a lot of these heavy-duty goods off the road, would have been better for it will be faster, more efficient, better for safety on the roads, and so on and so forth. Let me draw your attention to what happened last year. The flood that blocked the entrance to Lokoja, leading on to southeastern parts of the country. If you remember the armada of vehicles stranded by the road, these were available if we had infrastructure on ground for dealing with floods. We don't. And that's what I mean by earlier statement I made, that if you look at what's on ground and the supporting infrastructure, without this supporting infrastructure, the effectiveness of what has been achieved will be vitiated. If we had a plan for dealing with floods, and we should, that is also part of our infrastructure. You don't just go and construct roads or railway lines without thinking of what the environment will do, how nature will react. Let's pay attention to that. I'm sorry, people last year had to look for alternative ways to go to the southeastern parts of this country, southeastern and south-south, from Abuja and other areas. That was not pleasant thing to look at.
Okay, so why some will agree with you on the things of why the things that President Muhammadu Buhari has done in these areas that you have mentioned. Some are also making case for him, and it says the resources are not available that much. You also hear the part where they say the country was hit by COVID-19 and the NSAS issues, so there was a lot of crackdown in the economy, the dollar going up, so a lot of things were at stake at the time, and they make excuses for all of this. But moving forward,
you call it excuses. I will agree with you. Making excuses, that's very important.
Okay, so moving forward, the administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is coming in, and
Yes.
there's still a lot to cover up. What should Asiwaju be looking at in these areas of infrastructure that will affect the life of every Nigerian as his administration kick off?
I will expect and I hope there will be first an evaluation of where we are and where do we need to with regards to infrastructure to support all our other activities. Resources will always be inadequate. Resources will always be in shortage. It's not how much you have, it is how we manage it. What kind of debt did we go into in this country? And have they paid off? What are the problems? And I think the government is inheriting, I'm sorry to say, a messy country in many aspects. And there are expectations that things will be different. And we hope and pray that things will be different. But it's also good to be realistic. The problems are too many and daunting. The areas calling for attention are many. What I expect the government to do is to take a few sectors and do an assessment and embark on projects that will be impactful, that will have results in 3 to 4 years, so that people will begin to see. There are many areas that we need to plug that are disappearing from this country. Of course, I know you will say, is the behemoth of corruption. But, lay the foundation for doing a realistic assessment of where we need to be as a country. What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? Let's utilize the opportunities, mindful of the challenges, mindful that, of course, there are factors that are daunting and we may not be able, and the government may not be able to fully solve. But let's see on ground that arrangements have been put in order to tackle this. And this arrangement, more effective, more seriously, these arrangements are effective or they show promises for being effective. There are a few states where governors have done very well in terms of infrastructure, if you visit. There are a few states that I have visited where previous regimes have done very well, but other regimes that come after it, relax, sort of with going into complacency. Oh, we don't need to do that, and so on. We need to pay attention to education. We need to pay attention to health. We need to pay attention to rural infrastructure. But we need to pay attention to major arteries through which goods and services move in this country from the north to the south. Or vertically, we need to pay attention to the movement of agricultural goods, because this is the major backbone of our economy. How do we support agriculture? For example, in the last 4 to 5 years or even more, I have not heard of the National Agricultural Land Clearing Agency. It's not in the news. This is what we should be hearing about. I have not heard much about National Agricultural Insurance. That is also an infrastructure. These are infrastructure. What is happening to them? We have seen some movement, say, by the Federal Road Repairs Agency. Fine, but why are other areas, why are these interventions selective? You find a stretch of the road that's very good for a few kilometers. You go and, done by Federal Road Repairs Agency, fine. But the balance of the road, has been unattended to. Why? These are things we need to. I expect, in short, the present administration to embark on an emergency, and we don't have time. The administration does not have much time, on an emergency reassessment of where the country needs to be in terms of delivering goods and services, in terms of serving the people, in terms of meeting its promises. We will forgive the regime for some of the lofty promises made. Now, We expect a realistic assessment, and the government should embark on projects that impact directly on the lives of the people, not spending billions and billions of money constructing high-rise building in Abuja with massive office space for the chief executive and other Mr. Big staff that are there. Go to the ground. What are the things that will impact on it? For God's sake, people can operate from porter cabins and tents inside Abuja. They don't need all those high-rise buildings that overlook. Go 5 kilometers outside Abuja and you are back to the third world. So these are things we need to pay attention to.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. We need to round up the show now.
Pleasure.
It's been a pleasure speaking to you. And that's, of course, Professor Mohammed Baba, a professor of sociology and
I just want to
management.
make No. Let me make a little correction. I am a professor of sociology and dean of the faculty of social and management sciences at the Federal University of Kebbi. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. And that's our show for today. Join us next week as we bring you interesting political stories. Don't forget to watch the repeat by 11 p.m. tonight and 5 a.m. tomorrow. Bye for now. I'm Ademola Lawrence.